darkness, be my friend, we'll drive away.
Hey Queens, so today I am going to recap episode 2 from season 3 of Who is Mr. Robot. Obviously, look different, cancer, chemo. Again, probably going to disclose that every beginning of these recaps, just in case y'all don't know or you come across these videos. I have recapped season 1 and 2. If you haven't watched any of my videos before, I basically take notes on every episode. So from literally season 1, episode 1, I've been doing this, and I don't know. So anyways, this premiered, of course, again, October 11th, the episode, but I was in chemo and everything like that, so, didn't really watch these episodes. So watching these, recapping, finally, hopefully we'll get them done in time for all of you to watch. So this is episode 3.1_undo, basically. That's what we're calling this. Aside from that, there was other things I touched upon in the last recap, so if you didn't watch that one, go watch that one real quick. I'll try to link season 1 and season 2 recaps as well. Somewhere I'll put like a card or link it down in the description. I'll put it somewhere again. But anywho, as always, at the beginning of every episode, we do get little scenes from previous seasons, previous episodes, and everything like that. So we get the phone call where we say, "Bonsoir, Elliot." We're talking about the facilities in stage 2, White Rose and Price when they had their little, I guess, scuffle, so to speak, when they were outside. I want to say in a graveyard, but I don't think they're in a graveyard. Darlene wanted to use, her Fifth Amendment and everything like this when she's, with the FBI and everything. We see the therapist, we see Joanna getting beat up, and then we end with basically what the whole first episode was when Mr. Robot basically comes back, and Elliot was like, is he gone or not after he was shot? So again, we touch upon important things and important characters that are kind of leading into a bigger picture, and also what had just happened, because again, this is the second episode, so obviously we are going to see what happened in the first episode. Anyways, now we open up to a littered street, and Elliot's talking about an undo button, and he's going on the subway, he's popping a pill, etc., basically going to work, his daily commute, and he's just talking about all these things, he wishes he can hit undo, and everything about Evil Corp, and he basically caused the downfall of human civilization. But he's like, today, he's like, I'm gonna hit that undo button. I'm gonna be that person to erase everything I ever did. So in the previous episode, Angela was basically talking about kind of making it as if everything that had happened would be not even a thing of the past, but as if nothing ever happened from the very beginning with their parents, who died of cancer. So Mr. Robot died of cancer, and Angela's mom died of cancer. And she's basically saying, I have this plan or this thing that can take us all the way back to as if nothing ever happened. Which is where I did mention with parallel universes and stuff that they were talking about at the beginning of the episode, if we're going to a supernatural route or something, which we kind of, I guess, touched upon at the end of this episode. But anyways, just keep that in mind. I don't know. Share me your theories in the comments down below if you're still watching. And aside from that, he is a security analyst, and he's watching the little video, welcome to Evil Corp, you're a member now of our team, because he works there. He wants to basically keep Evil Corp in check, and he isn't saying that he's selling out, but he's basically growing up. He's becoming, I guess, normal, a citizen. And do you remember, I want to say maybe season 1, possibly, he had that Starbucks and stuff, and he's basically like, oh, so this is what it's like to be, a person, I can get a frappuccino or something. And I guess this is kind of touching upon that again in a way, but not entirely his perfect scheme of things. It's just he's going along with it, growing up, and I guess maybe taking responsibility for what he's done. Again, undo button and everything like that. So he takes his pills, he gets clothes, and then we also see that when he is on the subway, everybody basically has, in the scene, he sees people on the subway, just imagine people on a subway, and then out of nowhere they have emoji heads or emoji faces. So I don't know, the Emoji Movie, but in real life, that's what I would think, and stuff like that. So that was kind of and his just has 2 eyes, it has no mouth, so it's just a blank face, I guess. That's basically Elliot in a nutshell. He's talking about he's with this team and everything, the recovery team, and we can't really decrypt stuff, but he's gonna like rebuild or recover whatever he has to do to undo the whole situation again that he caused and basically made the whole world the mess that it is now in the series because of what he did. Those were the consequences that everybody had to suffer with, and he didn't really destroy the big hand. He didn't free everyone from this or that. He, I guess, screwed everyone, including himself, in a way. And then he talks about how they have 17 buildings that are going all to one building in terms of records being sent, and obviously that was the whole thing. They were trying to destroy Steel Mountain, this and that, but they had paper records, and they had paper records all over the world, so to speak. And again, he's like, okay, they're all going to one building, like, I had to do this and do that just to buy myself all this time and do what I have to do. And he's been trying to talk to the tech manager to digitize those records. It doesn't work. So what does he do? He hacks these people, like when he worked at Allsafe, I think was the place. I'm thinking about Allstate, so I could be wrong, in season 1. And he hacked like his coworkers and stuff, and is like, oh, so this is what they do, this is what this person likes. Basically figuring out who people are. And when he did that, he found out that basically that tech manager was selling private data because he was putting rootkits on the phones. So he gets him arrested by the FBI. Elliot. He's doing good, I guess, in his way. So he goes on to meet with the next guy, and he's again talking about the Evil Corp shipping and everything like this, and how what he's doing is basically confusing this shipping person between New York and Sioux Falls or South Falls, I don't know. And again, he's doing that to buy time. Now, when he is doing that, he also finds out that that new guy, the young guy, Peter, he's like, oh, I have a Soul Cycle class to go to, because they're not really paying attention to him, which is why, he hacks them, sees, okay, well, who they are, like, screw you, like, I'm gonna get you back, so to speak. And he finds out that he was getting technology or something to cheat the emissions test. So, it's kind of like when you buy a car and it says, oh, we only have this much emissions, like, that's a lie, because it actually does this, but it's cheating the test. So he basically exposed him, got that guy arrested. He's like, you know what, if I can't do this, well, then this is the good that I'm doing. Like, this is the least I can do, so to speak, to right his wrongs and everything like this. And then again, we're like, at the paper says, and the UPS, again, he mentions how he has to keep that safe from Tyrell and the Dark Army, basically, because, he can't really just blow up a building and kill all these people, as Darlene, I believe Darlene had mentioned something like that, like, oh, like, you're gonna kill all these people and you're gonna do this, and he's like, it's not me, it's Mr. Robot. So again, I guess now that Mr. Robot is gone to Elliot, he's kind of like, okay, like, we have to do this, and I have to do this perfectly, and without being too rash, and again, not being the person like, oh, I didn't think about this or that when I did XYZ. So then we move into this lady who's at this presentation of Elliot that he's been trying to do with the past 2 people. And she's paying attention. She likes it. She listens. And you know what? We're going to take to the vice president of technology because she really likes that plan. So he goes, buys an apple. He does his little daily commute again and everything like this. So they're mentioning the database and how he basically wants to change Evil Corp to E Corp because he's like, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's my perspective, my thoughts, and what I was doing to this conglomerate, but maybe they weren't evil, maybe it was him. That's the kind of vibe that I was getting from Elliot, and kind of how he's trying to right his wrongs and everything like this. So, again, by arresting those people, that's what he's doing. And then we cut to, like, the flames of, like, all the trash that people are basically, I think they're selling their trash for money, or, like, recycling for money. I really wasn't sure. But basically, there's no more money, and everything's, like, digital money now. So, don't really know how that's working out for them, but that's what it is. So, then he's at the computer, and he's kind of having a moment, and he says, you know what? I haven't fixed everything. Like, he's like, let's be honest with each other. I haven't done what I basically said I was doing, or set out to do. And I guess you can say he was just lying to us. And that's probably because he mentions that he started having this lonely feeling again. He was watching Dancing with the Stars, and he's crying. So if you do remember in season 1, like, how he would cry against the wall and stuff, because he said he was, like, lonely, and, like, the loneliness came back, and he just doesn't know what he's doing anymore, and he's just maybe having, like, a depressed episode, and the medicine isn't working. So he's doing that, and he is a sad emoji now. So if we can cut back to that scene on the subway with the emoji people, so to speak, he has like a sad emoji face with like a tear. So he's just like, I don't know, he's looking in the mirror and everything like that. And then he's with his therapist, and she says that she's probably going to be working out of her home office because her landlord isn't paying like the utilities and stuff, so she can't really work in the office that she is. So like instead of seeing your doctor at your doctor's office, you'd have to see your doctor at his house if he has an office there. So if you think about American Horror Story season 1, like he was basically like a psychologist or something, and he was in his home office instead of like an office. So she's basically gonna work from home, so to speak. If I confused you enough with that, I couldn't just say that at the beginning. And that's what she leaves it off on, and he's just like, okay, like what am I supposed to say? And he just goes, oh, that's a nice rug. And it's like, you've been there for how long, Elliot? But again, that is Elliot's like thing. He just doesn't interact with people. He doesn't really talk with people. He doesn't know how to respond. He kind of, I guess you can say, self-absorbed and selfish in an unofficial, unknowing way. So he's not that person to be like, okay, like I'm gonna, how are you doing? He's kind of just like, whatever, you know, but that's not really his personality. He just doesn't know he's like that. He doesn't know how to interact again with someone. He doesn't know how to really be human, so to speak, or just be normal, like how we would see, you know, like, oh, how are you doing? Oh, I'm doing fine. How are you? Like he's just like almost straight to the point. I guess you can say kind of cold, but he doesn't mean it because he's asking us, the audience, like, what do I, like, how am I supposed to respond to that? And again, he just has a nice rug, which, again, you know, their therapist is probably like, okay. So Elliot just says, nice rug. And moving on from that, you know, now that she's going to be working out of her home office and everything, it's his birthday, and she's asking, like, do you have any plans for your birthday? Like, what are you up to tonight, basically? And he's just like, oh, I didn't even know. It was my birthday. Like, she's right. And he's like, nope, I did not have any plans. And then she was saying, like, since the last sessions that they had and everything like that, he hasn't talked to Darlene, and it's because Mr. Robot comes out. And he just says that it feels different, but he's not answering her question. And she really wants to know because, like, oh, it's just better for everyone. But she's like, how do you feel? You know, not like, how does it feel not having Mr. Robot? So again, she's not asking, like, oh, like, what is that? What is life like now that Mr. Robot's gone? It's like, oh, you know, it feels different. I guess it's better, you know, for everyone that he doesn't show up. And, like, I'm not, like, crazy, so to speak. But she's like, no, like, how do you feel knowing he's gone? And he's like, feels good. Like, I guess that's as normal as he can feel. Not having Mr. Robot in his body, so to speak, or like his split personality, if you saw the movie Split. And then when he says that, he also says that he only kind of misses him and that part of him because it kind of felt like he was part of something that was important and had meaning and like bigger than him, and I guess bigger than everyone, because like I said, they started F Society to like save the world, but they couldn't. Because when they did that, it had very negative repercussions. So again, he didn't do what he was supposed to do. He didn't do really what he set out to do. And in a way, it's like it was all planned and staged, as we're finding out with the series progression by a puppet master, so to speak. And like I say, I've been asking y'all the question. The last recap, like, is it Price? Is it White Rose? Is there someone above White Rose and Evil Corp? And like, who is the mastermind behind everything, you know? We're only on episode 2. I mean, some of y'all may have already watched the whole series, but, you know, just for the recap, we're in episode 2. So, keeping up with that, he goes on and on about, you know, how he misses this, and he kind of has this slight daydream, and you hear, like, little kid voices and, like, laughter. And it was about Darlene, when they were kids, and it was a snowstorm, they were playing outside, and they made this Kevin McAllister snowman. So, he's like, oh, that's that kid from Home Alone, I think, and he's like, oh, they made it just like that, and it's like, we're gonna steal like Mr. Robot's camera, their dad's camera, and take a photo of it before it melts and stuff like this. But that was the day of his accident. So it's like, what accident? And if you don't remember, or you've totally missed season 2, I mean, that was kind of one of the things. Basically, his dad threw Elliot's dad threw him out the window, and he broke his arm, etc. And when he says that, Krista, the therapist, is like, you never told me this before. And he's kind of like, I didn't. Because if you do remember, he did go back to his childhood home, I believe, in season 2 and was at the window. And when he's basically being thrown out the window again, he's throwing himself out. So every time Elliot was being attacked by Mr. Robot, he's hurting himself. So it's like self-harm in a way, but not really. So if you do remember in season 2, there's this one scene at a cafe or a sandwich shop, and he's basically being choked by Mr. Robot, or he's choking Mr. Robot, but he's choking himself. And like kind of when he snaps out of it, he's kind of just like looking, is like, oh, like I'm choking myself in front of all these people, like, you know, what am I doing? And that's whatever to him. But with Krista, she asked, like, you've never told me this, like, what about this can you share? Like, if that's anything. Is just like, oh, well, you know, nothing much. You know, Darlene was pissed off because we didn't get that picture. The snowman melted. We're in the hospital all night. Like, it's just plain and simple. Like, that's why I say Elliot kind of lacks that human part of him to really communicate. While Krista, even though she tries really hard, I guess, to get to Elliot, get to the core of Elliot, help Elliot out, Elliot kind of just shuts down in a way, or shuts off or cuts off from basically anyone, especially her, when she's trying to help. And it's just like, it happened. This is what happened in this order. It's in the past. I mean, he doesn't really say it's in the past, but that's kind of the mentality you get from Elliot when he's talking about things like this. And you're just like, okay, you know, and I don't know, but, you know, why'd you think about it? And stuff like this. And it's just like, just came back to mind. Which is like, that's still season 2, girl. And then we see Joanna, and she's on that show, Let's Be Frank. So if you do remember, it's like that guy on the TV show. Basically, throughout the seasons, who I guess you could say is kind of like those, like a Fox News person. I don't remember his name, but he's always like, wow, like, you know, like very like when they're talking, like, okay, like we need to take a step back and have a moment and everything like this. So she's basically on that show, and they're talking about the murder of Sharon Knowles. Now, obviously, Sharon Knowles was the lady that Tyrell choked on the top of the building in season 1. And Joanna had met with the husband in season 2, and they basically got in a fight, which again, hence the scene at the beginning of this episode where they show her getting beat up by that guy. Because I think she went over for Tyrell's money, because she had the baby and everything like that. So she went to his house, I believe, for that money and everything, and what she needed, what she was trying to get. And they had a little scuffle, basically, and when he beat her up, he beat her up. So she's trying to, like, go on and be like, oh, well, like, I knew he was a bad person, and he beat me up, so he killed his wife. And that, like, boy toy that Joanna had is, like, the one supporting what she said. And they're like, oh, yeah, like, you know, you had someone basically corroborate, like, you know, the story, and, you know, he was a bartender there, and he saw everything or something. So Joanna's doing her own, like, little press tour to save Tyrell's, I guess, reputation is what you'd say, and kind of like make her paint herself as that photo, like, oh, like, I've always loved Tyrell, and yes, I signed up for a divorce, but, you know, like, I'm not going to divorce because Tyrell's the only man I've ever had and ever loved, which, I mean, she was with that guy, so not really. And she's basically playing this one guy to save Tyrell, but in the end, it's like, who really is Joanna to Tyrell if Tyrell's just all mystery and disappeared into thin air, so to speak, but he only really likes Elliot, so it's kind of like, ooh, Joanna, you don't really know what you're doing. But I guess that was Joanna's own little act of revenge for her own actions, you know, really didn't have anything to do with Tyrell in a way, if you think about it, but more to do with Joanna. So anyways, she is in the car with the baby and with Jeremy Holmes' character. I forget what his character is called, but basically like her driver, bodyguard, chauffeur, kind of a dude, and everything. He unfollowed me on Twitter. I don't know why, but anyways, just throwing that out there. They're driving around. He kind of notices that he's being followed, but between that, we see an F Society video that has been posted, I think, or leaked, and it's Darlene. She's with the FBI and everything like this, and they're saying like, oh, this is the last blow, like your ears are gonna ring or pop, like literally, or something like that. you know, this is a message for the people, like they say, and Darlene and the FBI are kind of just like, okay. And that was supposed to, like, a couple hours ago, and, like, you know, for 6 weeks, basically Darlene's given them nothing. And it was posted through the same account as the last, you know, F Society videos that Darlene was basically running when they went into that house and they killed that lady, etc. I guess, if you want to take it from there. You know, like, oh, they're doing this, but in reality, they really weren't doing much. And I'm not saying that they posted it from that house, but if you can follow, like, the lingo, you know what I mean, and everything like that. So she says that it has to be the Dark Army because of Cisco, and it's kind of like, and you know, they kind of have her as a CHS, a confidential human source, and everything like that, and they just needed her for the info on Tyrell, but Elliot isn't talking to her. Elliot isn't answering. Elliot, I guess, isn't working with Tyrell or having conversation with Tyrell. Like, that's her story. But in reality, we know that Elliot and Tyrell are in cahoots together with Angela and Bobby Cannavale's character. So in the real scheme of things, I guess maybe White Rose and Evil Corp, you know, like I say, which is why you don't really know Darlene's position or Angela's, which we're going to talk about Angela later on, but of course with the FBI, like, how clueless are they, or kind of ignorant to what's right in front of them. They know, I guess, but they don't know maybe as much as they think they do, and they're trying to, I guess, use that with Darlene and get more information or, like, evidence or support because, you know, she has immunity, but it's like, well, they get what they need, let's say, in time or in general. That's basically why they want Darlene and why they need Elliot for this, and why they want to just, like, round up everything, you know, get everyone who's to blame, and, you know, just, I guess, we did it, guys. But again, Darlene isn't giving much information, and that's probably only because, you know, Elliot just doesn't cooperate. Elliot's just not that person to communicate in the first place, so it's going to be very hard getting anything out of Elliot. And aside from that, we hear Tyrell and Elliot on the phone together, and Darlene is like, because she didn't know. So again, which is why I say Darlene doesn't know things, the FBI doesn't know things, Elliot doesn't know things. It's almost as if there's an unknown for each character, and there's an unknown for each character's interactions in, like, the bigger scheme of things when it really comes down to it, and, like, who's working for who and who's doing what, and who really knows who the most. And then we go again to Joanna, and, you know, her driver's looking out the window, and it's just like, you've been doing that, like, the whole drive. It's like, you know what, stay here. Like, he pulls over, the other car pulls over. It's that guy who was having a fling with Joanna. I guess that's the easiest way to put it. Like, he was having a fling with her, and, you know, she didn't know where Tyrell was, so, you know, she's like, you know, maybe, I guess, you know, she just wanted something, like they say, so she found it in that guy, so to speak. So he's like, you know what, I lied for Tyrell, like, you said you loved me, you didn't love me, and blah, 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 and her driver's like, dude, like, let it go, and, like, kind of, like, beats him up a little, and it's just like, they're wasting time because of him, and she just finished a TV show, so she's like, oh, this is so stupid, like, I'm just going home. And Joanna, again, is that person. It's kind of like, I guess, a snake, so to speak, where she's just like, I love you, and, like, do this, and help me, help you, and he's kind of like, okay, like, I'll do what you tell me to do. So, again, which is, I'm like, did she plan on getting beat up to get him arrested, and use this guy as the source by staging a relationship or something with him? I mean, probably. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me that Joanna would be that sneaky or, I guess, cruel, conniving, etc. to be that person. But she did that, and she did that. So when he's kind of saying that, you know what, like, I lied for you to get Tyrell off and everything like that, he's told that if he retracts, he will die. So basically, Joanna's chauffeur is going to kill that guy if he goes to the police. It's like, oh, you know, I lied, and Joanna's a liar, and Joanna this and Joanna that, etc., etc., because Joanna's probably told this guy a lot. So he's basically telling her, like, look, keep your mouth shut or you're going to die. Like, off with your head, dude. And then when they're driving away, it's like, you know, everything's under control. You basically see him, like, in the passenger side of the window, so her driver's just, like, about to start the car. You just see the guy out of the window, and then he shoots him, which basically, I guess, in a way, stuns him. And it's kind of just like he's there. And Joanna is like freaking out. She's like trying to get the gun and everything. She's like, no, no, no. Like, I'm gonna be next. Obviously, like he's gonna shoot Joanna. Like, just shot the driver. Like, you can't really get the car moving. So they shoot him, and then when Joanna, I guess, kind of got the gun and is gonna like fall back into the back seat or look up and try to go back so she doesn't get shot, he basically shoots her in the head and she falls. The baby's crying, and there's like this little like moment, but then her driver gets up and shoots the guy after like he thinks he just shot both of them and killed them. So when the driver shoots back, you know, the baby's in the back seat and there's just blood all over the baby and the baby's crying, and like that was like the end of that. So Stephanie Corneliuson's character Joanna is dead. Which I did see this episode after chemo and stuff, and I was like, I mean, I wasn't all there, like I was kind of like loopy, but I was like, we basically lost like, I mean, to me, like a fan favorite, but like, I feel, I don't know, like Joanna was just that character, you know. I did not see that happening, y'all. Like when that happened in real time, I was just like, I could not believe Sam Esmail would do that. It was crazy. But again, which is why I say, you think Joanna would probably be this bigger character, and the way she was like going around and, you know, doing this and doing that and like meeting with Elliot in season 2, I think when she had like the red paint thrown on her or something. So it's kind of like you think a character holds more value or weight to the storyline, or like let's say like the franchise, so to speak, the series. But no, which is why I say, okay, so Joanna was that easily expendable, so to speak, in terms of her, you know, just getting shot in a car. What could happen to Darlene? What could happen to Angela? What could happen to Price, White Rose? I don't know, you know? That's why I was like, man, if Joanna's character got killed off, like, WTF, y'all. I was mad when that happened. Like, I was like, really? I mean, we could just have this moment here for Joanna, but anyways, now they're doing some Dr. G medical examiner stuff on her body, and, you know, the FBI guy is telling Dom, like, you know, good thing we're the first ones on the scene. We got to keep this a secret, like, this information, and, like, the public knowing, like, that's a big no-no. So, then it's like, okay, well, you know, like, the baby's still there, even though, like, the driver survived. Like, the baby's gonna go to social services, and Dom's kind of like, well, that's... the baby's supposed to go to next of kin, so... But since Tyrell is, like, you know, the world's most wanted man, and the FBI is looking for him, it's kind of, I guess they're just thinking, like, screw the baby, even though Dom is kind of like, the baby? But that's what they're doing. And then he also mentions how Darlene is probably a flight risk. So Darlene is kind of, I guess, since she is panicking, she's kind of having a moment, you would think that she's gonna run away. She's gonna just leave everything behind, try to, I don't know if she would flee the country, I don't know if she would be able to, but she'd probably find a way by hacking something. But that's basically his worry, because it's like, Dom, 6 weeks, Darlene hasn't given us anything. Darlene is just as clueless as them, I guess, so to speak. And again, Darlene is just a mess as the Dark Army closes in, as this is happening, because, you know, she doesn't know what Elliot's doing. She didn't know that Elliot and Tyrell were working together. She didn't know that everything that is happening around her, like I say, they know, but they don't know, and it's like right in front of their eyes. It's kind of like they're just walking around like a blindfold, I guess, so to speak, to really everything happening around them. And then moving on from that, we see Darlene and Elliot at the pier, and again, it's still Elliot's birthday, so that's basically why she called Elliot down to the pier and everything like that. And when he really asked before that, like, why am I here? It's like, oh, you know, like, you were the one that told me to go F yourself and stuff. So it's like, yeah, the birthday and everything like this. And he tells her that he doesn't want to talk to her or see her. And, like, she knows this because she is the trigger that brings Mr. Robot out of Elliot. So that's why he doesn't, again, want to see her. But it's like, you should know, being his sister, that you're going to be the one to trigger this crazy part of him, like this crazy side of him. The part that he's had under control, the part that got killed, or at least he believes got killed when he got shot, because he's like, oh, Robot isn't here, but he's still always there, you know, because we saw Angela talking to him, and Angela's the one who can really decipher, let's say, the real face behind the mask of Elliot. Like, is it Elliot, or is it Elliot, Mr. Robot Elliot? You know, so Darlene really can't pick up on that, and Darlene doesn't realize that she is the one who's kind of like bringing that. And again, Darlene is saying, like, you know, just because you had a shady childhood doesn't mean I didn't have one, because, you know, we're siblings. So they both went through the same things. And I think we got a little bit of that in season 2 with kind of the throwback episode where it was like honestly, like a Brady Bunch kind of a theme, if you want to put it that way. And it was them grown up, but it was them as kids. And I think, well, yeah, him being thrown out of the window and other little instances, but basically Darlene is like, we share those memories, we share those experiences, we share the same events, but again, even though they don't know how each of them view it from different lenses, so to speak, Elliot is the one that's kind of like acting as if he was the only one that ever went through it. Like, he's the only one, no one will ever understand him, no one else was there, which Darlene, again, was a sibling. Darlene was there. Darlene grew up alongside Elliot, literally, and they still do communicate. So it's not like you're just gonna have Elliot be the only one that went through it when Elliot is having that thought in his mind. But Darlene, I guess, is the one there to be like, you still have someone that was here and that is real and that is tangible and that you can talk to. You know, it's not just you. You're not just alone. But again, Elliot's always alone. Elliot's always kind of trapped in his own mind and his own memory and experiences. But, you know, it's going to be hard to get him out of it. And Elliot kind of says that he kind of wanted to be close again and everything like this, you know. And they mentioned the snowman and everything. And it's just like, okay, you know what, whatever. But he kind of wants Darlene to stay with him tonight. And it's just like, I'm good. But he's like, I don't want to be alone, you know. So he doesn't want to be alone. And they only did the whole F Society thing to be close to one another. Well, Darlene basically was the one who said that. And moving on from that, we see Price, and he's giving this like speech about this global inflation. And they're doing the 5-9 accord for eCoin, so basically Bitcoin, so to speak, like digital currency. And we see White Rose there, and he's basically, I guess, the one who represents China in this thing. And they're talking about how they have Bitcoin, and that's because, you know, since they're the only one that hasn't signed, it's kind of as if there's a currency war on the whole world, or a global currency war because of them that's starting. And I was like, you know, in like your 11 days, and like, you know, you'll have the Congo thing, everything annexed that you want, and they need the embrace of all those countries. If not, they're going to pull out. And when he says that, he says to Price, White Rose, your success follows mine. Because Price is basically saying, you know, that UN vote that you want, like, I'm not going to get it for you if you don't give me what I want. And again, which is why I say White Rose is that person who's like, I'm the one in control of things. I own the clock. I set my own rules and boundaries and time. And for Price to be throwing this kind of a threat that he believes at White Rose, is like, White Rose is going to do what I want. White Rose is going to sign up for the eCoin. But White Rose, again, is like, you're not the one in charge. Like, I'm the head bitch. That's what he's telling him. If he says, like, you know, like, I'll get when he says that, he also tells Price that, you know, I found out who smuggled like documents and this and that, and he's basically threatening Angela because he's like, oh, I know why you love her so much and all this. And he's like, do not mistake, you know, generosity for what it is, generosity, which again, I'm like, face value, which this whole series you can't really take for face value, which is why I say looking deeper and like thinking of like this and that through different seasons and the different episodes, kind of like, is this really this or that, or is this that? Or is that this? Which sounds confusing, but you know, that's kind of how this series can be for some. And anyways, we cut to Elliot. He's asleep. Darlene is kind of on the computer, and she's like, she's sneaking out. She's doing her own little thing, but she sees the little photo of Mr. Robot and Elliot. And I think her, or maybe it's like the family photo of them at the beach. Either way, she sees an old photo, and she's kind of like, you know, she's gonna have a moment, but then Elliot's like, what are you doing here? Why are you here? Why were you at the computer? And stuff, and she's just like, oh, you know, like, I was looking for a pen to write you a note, like, I'm leaving, like, you know, like, when he wakes up, you'll find your note. No, Darlene left upstate with a friend, because that's what she said she was going to do at the pier. And she's like, oh, I was going to catch a bus. And he's like, you know, there's transportation strike, there's no buses out, where are you leaving? And he grabs her arm and she tries to leave, and then she's like questioning, like, you know, where the F are you going and stuff like this. And why are you here? And blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, oh my God, like, it's you and stuff. So basically, when she says it's you, it's Mr. Robot. Mr. Robot snapped because, again, she is the trigger. And messing with the computer and probably messing with stage 2, messing with the whole plan. Like, Elliot's like, sees her, but then he probably snaps into Mr. Robot because Mr. Robot's like the mastermind behind Elliot. So, which is what I mean, like, Mr. Robot is like possessing Elliot, so to speak, which is why I'm always like, is Elliot basically like an electronic Ouija board if you think about it? But I mean, whatever. And then she's like, stop, you're hurting me, like, stay away. She calls him a psycho, and then she just leaves because it's like he flashed. And then Elliot is like, oh, okay. And then Elliot goes back to work. He pops his pill. He gets on the train, on the subway, and everything like this. His daily commute again. And then he's like, you know what? How to work this and how to work with Krista is to get Krista to talk to him. Now, not only talk to Mr. Robot, but I guess Elliot at the same time, if you think about it, because she's only seeing Elliot. But Elliot wants, I guess, this freedom to win, like the chess game that we had seen, I think, around season 1 or 2, and finally win full control over Mr. Robot. But Krista can never seem to get that. Now, everyone else gets it because it's triggered. Or he's there, but he's not there, which is, in season 1, it seems like it was very subtle. Like, Mr. Robot was there, but Mr. Robot wasn't as threatening or as mad as we came into season 2, and obviously now season 3, attacking Darlene. So if Krista really can't get to it, and Elliot has to be like, okay, like, I'm gonna let you, but I don't want to, we kind of do see maybe somehow Elliot's father held a bigger thing in this whole masterminded plan by whoever put it, and maybe he died because, I don't know, maybe there's another thing, such as Angela being the one threatened, and he died of cancer as well, Angela's mom, and that wasn't supposed to happen. So then they kind of groomed Elliot to be like, oh, he's gonna like technology, or just because he learned from his father, he got into it, and then now they're like, okay, well, we're gonna use him, like White Rose said. Like, it wasn't just coincidence that they got Elliot and his father. And then if you think about it, Angela and her mother, but for some reason everyone's there. And also, Darlene is there too, but Darlene is saying that she was only there to be with Elliot. So, again, Darlene could be expendable in a way, as was Joanna, but we're really never going to know. So, basically, they do like this hypnosis thing, if you really think about it, to get Elliot to become Mr. Robot. And she's like, ask permission, let him in, like, let me talk to him, Elliot, and just let it. So Elliot's just like, and when he has that moment where Mr. Robot took over, it's like a double voice, which is why I'm like, is Elliot possessed? That's why I was like, girl, this series is just like, I don't know. But when they say that, it's like, why'd you want me to come from this? We're doing just fine. And that's where that double voice is coming in. Like, he's kind of mad that he made Elliot bring him out. But at the same time, it's like, this is what Elliot and you wanted. Like, this is what you're going to get. And everything like that. So when he says that, he's like, you know what? We're being torn apart. And you need to leave us alone. We need to get back to work. And he's like, kind of talking dirty to the psychiatrist, therapist person. Because, like, like, you're a foxy lady. And, like, you ever wanted to hook up with a patient? Because, that's Elliot's father's time and generation. And she's just like, no. And because, it's still Elliot. So, again, you never know if it's maybe Elliot saying this as Mr. Robot, or if it is Mr. Robot, which is why I say maybe he's possessed, but he's not, obviously. But, just throwing it out there for fun, for the children. And it's like, what's your name? And he's like, Mr. Robot. He's like, still, like, why does he keep calling me that? Like, all these labels after all these years. He goes, why are you here and everything? And he mentioned something by Freud. But Mr. Robot's like, you know what? You're not going to get inside my head. And you're trying to basically help Elliot destroy me. And she's like, no, like, that's not our plan. Like, you're the one that's playing a friend, and we've been compromised, Elliot and Mr. Robot. And Mr. Robot says, you know what? I'm done talking to you. But he's, like, leaning in on her very threateningly. And Elliot comes back and he's like, Krista, like, what happened? Like, where did I go? Like, I was here, but I wasn't here, but I know what I did, and I know it was probably crazy, and it just freaked her out or something. And it's just like, what? And it's like, go with me, or like, stay, like, what are we talked about in like stage 2 and compromise, and he's having like a mental breakdown while talking to us because he's asking us like, did we just see what he saw? Were we the ones witnessing this along with him, or did he have this and we didn't see it? So it's that voiceover where he's just like, what happened? Like, did everyone see what I saw? Like, did everyone experience what I experienced? And again, Elliot's on his own, but he's not because he has us, the viewers. And then we see the therapist, psychiatrist, psychologist ladies, old boyfriend, and she has Flipper the dog, and he's just like, how did you do it? Like, how did you hack me? How did you figure out everything? And like, how are you just so untouched and unscathed while the whole world is burning, so to speak? And he's like, you know what, whatever. Like, I hated the dog, like, because it's expensive, because the dog's sick and it's dying. So here, like, you can have the dog. And Elliot's just like, okay, dude. Like, he really doesn't talk to him, but he's just like, okay, have the dog now. And anyways, we move on to him giving Flipper water. And he's at the computer, and I believe he restarts his computer or like reboots it or does something. They see the FBI and they have his screen on their screen, and she's like, good job. And Darlene goes outside and she's like she did what she had to do, and she's like, hopefully like everything's better from now on. But Elliot's pretty smart if he did what he did, because he knows Darlene was doing something. But again, it was probably the Mr. Robot in him telling him like, Darlene did something, Darlene did this, Darlene was at the computer, so Darlene had to have messed with stage 2. Darlene had to have messed with whatever their grand scheme was, like they say, to undo everything that they've messed up on, I guess, if you want to talk about it. And we see White Rose, and they're talking about stage 2 on the day of the UN vote that Price was threatening, basically. And that was only if the UN vote didn't go the way they wanted to because of Price. But whether it does go their way or not, White Rose wants to run it because White Rose is saying, Price needs to be put in his place. Like, Price can't just make a threat to White Rose without White Rose showing Price, again, who's in charge, which is why White Rose said, Price's hand just needs to be slapped, and that's the way they're going to do it. So, stage 2 is coming for everyone because of Price. And after that, we see Dom, and she sees this Comet Electric thing, and she's at the safe house, and she's kind of like, she kind of, I guess, suspects something or sees something, but not really, and it's kind of just like, yeah. Like she kind of just brushed something off, but maybe she's kind of too preoccupied or thinking about something, so it's just like, how you kind of just see something and you're just like, whatever, but you don't think anything of it, and not like, oh, she saw something that seemed suspicious, but she was just like, like, I don't know, like maybe she just stared for a minute, or like she just felt something. I'm like, I don't know, you kind of get that vibe from her. So anyways, the guy that she's working with after she goes to that deli, she's saying that, Elliot hasn't logged in all day. Well, he's telling Dom that Elliot hasn't logged in all day, and there's only this email and stuff with the link. He's like, oh, I also got this recording, but he's just like, oh, I got some song, and Dom's like, oh, whatever, dude. And then she asked, like, did you hear something? Because they heard a noise. She's like, turn it off. It's like, oh, it's like downstairs or something. It's at Darlene's apartment. Like, how would anyone know about this, safe house and stuff? And then she's like, did you go to Link? And the guy's like, yeah, like I went to Link and downloaded it, but there was nothing. Only to find out that Dom was like, this wasn't a link for anyone. This was, I guess, once you download, like, it probably gave them Elliot's location. Elliot is like, yeah, like I haven't been on my computer, but I have. And now Elliot knows where Darlene is when Darlene hacked his computer, so to speak. So he went, like, backtraced it, so to speak. And then we see Elliot on the camera, and Dom is like, this is just not what we expected. Because when Dom got it, she's like, good job, Darlene. She thought, like, okay, we're going to get, like, all the info on Elliot. Elliot's going to be logged into his computer, and, like, he's going to show us stuff that he doesn't even know. And we're going to, like, know where Tyrell is. We're going to know about the Dark Army. We're going to know about everything. And Darlene's job there is finished, and Dom is like, yes, I did what I had to do. But again, Elliot is always smart because he does have Mr. Robot. So Elliot does show up at Darlene's apartment. He's just looking, and they're seeing him on the cameras, and that's how the episode ends. So I want to know what your theories are as the rest of the series progresses, and as I recap the next few episodes in this season. And I don't know, season 4 is probably going to be pretty crazy, and I really want to know what you guys are thinking with the whole parallel universe thing still, and the double voice that we saw in this episode, how it sounded like it could be like a possession thing. Like, it kind of reminded me of The Conjuring 2, when the old man and little girl are talking at the same time. But I don't know. And I'm still, when Joanna was killed, I was just like. But anywho, I want to say hi to Rami Malek. Stay safe and God bless you guys. So until the next recap.